We're continuing on Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim Hilchot Shabbat, and we're discussing the halachot of Havdalah at the very end of our Siman Resh Tzaditet Seif Vav on Daf Ayin Hey Amud Bet of a regular principle of your Mishna Beruras. Shachach v'lo yivdil b'motzei Shabbat. What happens if you forgot to say Havdalah? You thought you did. You came home, you got busy, and next thing you know, you wake up on Sunday morning and you remember, gee, I didn't say Havdalah last night. What happens? Says the Shulchan Aruch, Mavdil at sof yom shlishi. You could still make up for Havdalah until the Tuesday v'ad bichlal, and Tuesday included, at sof yom shlishi. Yesh omrim, she'eno mavdil ela kol yom rishon v'lo yoter. And Shulchan Aruch brings the second shita that you could only make it up on Sunday, but not more. V'davka borei priya gefen v'amavdil ben kodesh lechol. Out of the four brachot, remember the yivnei yibaneh, right? The yayin and besamim and ner and havdalah. Besamim and ner you cannot do after Motzei Shabbat. You only could do yayin and havdalah. Aval al haner u besamim eno mevarech. You cannot say besamim. You do no longer say borei moreh ha'esh. That's only for Motzei Shabbat and not on Sunday. V'yesh mi she'omer dat kaimalan ta'am mavdil. This that we said before, that even if you by mistake tasted something, ate something, you still say Havdalah. Hani midiyachad mavdil belel Motzei Shabbat. That's only when you are still saying Havdalah Motzei Shabbat. Avalim lo yivdil belayla kevan shta'am shuvenu mavdil. That also say that if you did not say Motzei Shabbat, Havdalah Motzei Shabbat, you no longer could say Havdalah if you ate on Motzei Shabbat. Says the Ramah v'haikar kisvara rishona. The halacha is like the first shita that the Shulchan Aruch brings. Umi shemit'aneh shlosha yamim, and says the Ramah, a person that is fasting, they used to do hafsakot. That means they would fast for almost 3 days in a row. So says the Ramah, a person that is doing Ta'anit of Hafsakot, is fasting for 3 days and 3 nights, Yishma Havdalah Ma'acherim. You should hear Havdalah from other people, because again, they would start immediately by Motzei Shabbat. Their fast had already started, so you can't be drinking the wine. So hence, you should not be the one saying the Havdalah. You should listen to Havdalah from other people, and you'll be Yotzeh. If there are no other people, you could say Havdalah earlier on before Shabbat finishes. You could say Havdalah early on, well, obviously without the candle, without the ner, and you could then drink, and then afterwards your fast starts, and you say borei moreh ha'esh later during the night. Says the Kaf HaChaim, that this psak of the Ramah, that the main halacha is like svara rishona. The first thing the Shulchan Aruch brings, that if a person did not say Havdalah Motzei Shabbat, you could still say it until Tuesday. At the end of Tuesday, it says Kaf HaChaim, wait a second. We usually say Safek brachot la'akel afilu neged Maran. That even if Maran paskins one way, which in this Seif, Maran brings a stam v'yesh, so halacha should be like stam, like the Ramah says. So correct that we have halacha like Maran, so Maran holds like that, but Safek brachot, it's machlokit. And usually we say Safek brachot la'akel, sabal, even against Maran Shulchan Aruch. So according to that, you should not be able to say more than Sunday, says the Kaf HaChaim. And that's also if you didn't eat anything on Motzei Shabbat. That means you have to be mamash super machmir when it comes to Safek brachot. But if you did eat something and you did not end up saying Havdalah on Motzei Shabbat, then you lost it. And that's the psak, not just of the Kaf HaChaim, but Chacham ben Zion Rabbi Shaul paskins like that as well. Chacham Badia is kind of like a middle ground. He says if a person does like Maran Shulchan Aruch, at the end of the day, Kibalnu Raot Maran, you certainly have what to rely on, and you don't have to stop them. But l'chatchila, you should say Safek Bachot La'akel, and therefore he also, in general term, he also sides with the Kaf HaChaim, with the Or Letzion, and even though that if you say you ate something, you don't say it anymore, says Chacham Ovadia, there's enough to rely on the Mekilim to say Havdalah, even despite the fact that he has tasted something. Now, it's important to note another point over here as well, that we don't say Safek Brachot La'akel Neged HaMinhag. If the minhag has become like Maran in a certain place, so even though that we would go against the Maran Shulchan Aruch with Sabal, with Safek Brachot La'akel, if the minhag has already evolved like Maran, then of course we don't say Safek Brachot La'akel. So that's also something that a person should take in consideration, and that's what Chacham Ovadia basically paskins as well. That if you, there are those who say that if you taste it, you no longer could say Havdalah on Sunday. Rova Poskim, Maran, not just Maran, but Rova Poskim disagree with that, and therefore, if a person does Havdalah on Sunday after having eaten on Motzei Shabbat, that's not the problem. And maznichinot, you don't have to stop him, and that's the psak that Chacham Ovadia gives as well. Now, we already have mentioned before that the Tisha B'Av that falls to be on Shabbat or Sunday, which means he's starting the Ta'anit immediately after Shabbat ends, so you can't say Havdalah. The way we do it is, on Leil Tisha B'Av, we do just the bracha on the candle, and the Motzei Ta'anit, we do the rest of the brachot. Now, Motzei Ta'anit is already after the Sunday, basically, right? So says the Or Letzion and Chacham Ovadia and Chazon Badiyahu in Yabia Omer, they say that כיוון שאי אפשר להבדיל קודם, ואין לחוש לדעת החולקים בזה, ספק ברכות להקל, במקום מנהג לא אמרינן. This goes back to what we said, that the minhag has evolved, that you say that Motzei Ta'anit of Tisha B'Av, and therefore you don't have to be really concerned about that. Now, the Shulchan Aruch says, the Mishna Berura rather says over here, the kol elu hashlosha yamim shayachim od leShabbat. The reason they could do it until the end of Tuesday is because the first 3 days of the next week is still connected with the previous Shabbat, so therefore you could still do something that you had to do on Motzei Shabbat up until Tuesday night, but from there on already is connected to the next Shabbat, and therefore you can't say it. But lechatchila, a person should do it on Sunday. That's according to everyone. There's the reason makdimim the mitzvot. And also, it's asur for you to eat before you say Havdalah, and therefore you should do it as soon as possible. Rabbi Kiva Eger writes in his Chidushim, in the name of Sefer Lashon Chachamim, the Motzei Yom Tov en lehavdalah tashlumin. This is only on Motzei Shabbat that you can make it up until Tuesday, until Sunday. But Motzei Yom Tov, you don't have tashlumin. Shabbat, you could say, well, the next 3 days are connected to Shabbat. Yom Tov, you can't say that. And therefore, if you didn't say Havdalah on Motzei Yom Tov, says Rabbi Kiva Eger, you missed it. There's no making over, making up for it. And therefore, you should be more careful to make sure not to miss the Havdalah of Motzei Yom Tov. Says the Mishna Berura, the second shita that holds you could only do it on Sunday, Ela Kol Yom Rishon, Delo svira lehu asvara nal. They hold that only on Sunday you could do, because the day goes after the night. Motzei Shabbat is the night, and Motzei Shabbat is already Sunday. So if you could say it on Sunday, you could say it the whole Sunday, until the night, the end of the Sunday before Sunday. So Sunday night would not be included in that, right? So which is important to note. And says the Chafetz Chaim, Shelosha yamim v'shelosha lelot. This is Seif Katan Chaf, which goes really on the Ramah, that the person that's fasting 3 days and 3 nights, the Chafetz Chaim writes, in the name of Achronim, that's the same thing if a person is fasting 2 days and 2 nights, same thing. Even 1 day and 1 night. After Yachol Lekayim mitzvah Havdalah, even though you could do the mitzvah of Havdalah by himself, after the Ta'anit, Mikol Makom Yoter Tov Shishma B'Motzei Shabbat, it's better to keep it the same time. Even though you could do it Sunday night, best is to just keep it the Lechatchila time, which is the Motzei Shabbat. Just listen to somebody else and be Yotze instead of waiting for Sunday night to do it yourself. That would be the best way. The Krovei Avdalta L'Shabbat Adif Tefes is more preferable to have Havdalah right next to Shabbat and not wait another whole day until you could say to yourself after you finish your fast. And that would be obviously the halacha as well. Says the Shulchan Aruch, Hamavdil al Yain, Sif Zayin, Al Shulchano, a person that says Havdalah on wine on his table, Afilu Yivdil Kodem Shnatal Yadav, Poter HaYayin Shebetoch HaMazon. Even though that you said Havdalah before you even did Netilat Yadayim, that wine that you said Bracha HaGefen on is going to cover the Yayin that's going to be inside your Seudah afterwards, right? The Seudah Revi'it. She'en sarich levarech alav. That you don't have to, you no longer have to say Borei Gefen in the wine, and the wine that you're going to be drinking in the course of the Seudah. V'yesh omrim delo patar ela im ken natal edav kodem shivdil. There are those who say no, you have to have started the Seudah somewhat. So if you did Netilat Yadayim beforehand and then you said the Borei Gefen Havdalah, then it covers the Yayin shebetoch Seudah, not otherwise. Seif Chet Maran writes, when you do cover the wine inside your Seudah, now you don't have to say bracha again in the middle of the Seudah, because you said the bracha of Gefen before the Seudah, for Havdalah. You don't have to say bracha achrona on the cup of Havdalah. That's also going to be covered with the bracha of Birkat Hamazon at the end of your Seudah. If you only have 1 cup of wine, and you think that they're going to be bringing more wine for you, and therefore you said your Havdalah on that cup, and then they didn't bring the wine, right? They backed out. They never delivered. And you said Birkat Hamazon without the cup. There are those who say that now, retroactively, your cup that you drank for Havdalah was not covered by Birkat Hamazon because it was before the Seudah. So you have to go ahead and say another bracha achrona for that cup of wine that you drank. And that's the shita of Maran Shulchan Aruch. Now, the Mishna Berura explains that the reason that you have to have done Netilat Yadayim for the wine of Havdalah to cover the wine inside your Seudah, that means you did Netilat Yadayim for Seudah, then you sat down and said Havdalah, and then Hamotzi, because that already starts your Seudah. That already starts your Seudah, Shnetilat Yadayim, hi hatchalat kfiyut ha-Seudah, v'shaycha ha-Seudah, and therefore the wine that you say now on Havdalah is going to cover the wine inside the Suda as well. But if you said Havdalah first, before you washed, then it's not going to perhaps cover that. And that is the maskana of Yesh Omrim, that when you do Havdalah before Netilah, even though that it's on the table, it's where you're going to be having your Suda is set up and all of that, still is not connected with what you're going to be drinking later on during the course of the Suda, and therefore it's not going to cover it. You have to say a new Berura Geffen during the Suda when you have the wine. Now, on the Seif Chet that we spoke about, the Mishna Berura explains that when you cover the yayin of the Suda with the bracha of Havdalah that you said on wine, that's one long drinking when you have yayin before Suda, meaning when you started, you washed your hand, and you said the bracha of Havdalah. That is considered one drinking with the wine that you're going to have during the course of the Suda. And therefore, Birkat Hamazon, just like it covers the wine inside the Suda, it covers also the wine that he had before the Suda. And, Safek Bachod La'akel, therefore we're going to be lenient on it. Now, the Psak that Shulchan Aruch has at the very end, that you would have to say bracha of Men Shalosh on the wine that you drank before Suda, if you ended up not having a cup of Birkat Hamazon. Says the Mishna Berura, Ve'af legabe kos kiddush pasak Shulchan Aruch in Siman Resh Ayin Bet, we discuss in Shulchan Aruch in Seif Yud that when you say kiddush, on the cup of kiddush you said Berura Geffen, you no longer need to say bracha achrona after benching, even though that by kiddush you have not started your Suda yet, and you had wine afterwards, and you don't have to say the bracha men shalosh after benching. Bebechol gavni the Birkat Hamazon potarto. In every case, Birkat Hamazon covers that. Kiddush shani. Kiddush is different. She is sorech Suda. Is mamash need of Suda. You can't start your Suda without having Kiddush. And Kiddush has to be b'makom Suda. Masha enken Havdalah. Havdalah is different. And therefore, it would require its own bracha. V'hineh hayesh omrim hu da'at hatur. This is, if you want for further discussion, a deeper dive, this yesh omrim is the shita of the Tur. Chelek b'sfara zu shkatavnu, but says the Mishna Berura, look at Magen Avraham shehochiach ta'arosh lo sevira lechalek b'zeh. It's really machloket rishonim. His own father, the Tur's father, was Rosh, and he doesn't hold like that. And the Vilna Gaon in his Be'ur Agra, he also holds like Magen Avraham, and therefore says the Mishna Berura, nir'eh she'im lo berach kodem ha'seuda lo yivarech achar kach. If you didn't say the bracha achrona, you should not say it afterwards. We say safek brachot la'akel sabal over here as well, and therefore that would be something that you would not say bracha for. If you want to listen to someone else saying the bracha biyotze, that's great, but short of that, you're not going to make your own bracha, which concludes our Seif over here, Seif Chet, and we'll B'ezrat Hashem pick up in the Seif Tet discussion of the next topic of Shulchan Aruch in the days to come. Hazak u'Baruch.